Joining me now is Republican Congressman Jim Renacci of Ohio. He's a member of both the Budget and the Ways and Means Committees, and he's also running for governor of Ohio in next year's election, which means you're a very busy man. Thank you for taking time from me.
Thank you.
All right. Do you think, Congressman, that the president should be supporting Roy Moore? Do you support Roy Moore? Do you think your constituents support Roy Moore? Well,
what I tell everybody is that's the decision for Alabama, and that's a decision for the Alabama people, and I'm going to respect their decision, just like they should respect what Ohio does when they elect me or elect Ohio officials.
I've also been curious, sir, that were Roy Moore to be elected, and as he walks the halls of Congress, it was suggested to me by one Republican contributor that we have on MSNBC, no one's going to have lunch with him in the Senate dining room. Do you have any expectation of what that would be like, just having him walk the halls?
Well, I don't. And again, Washington's a strange place as it is. I was a business guy for 30 years before I got to Washington. After 6.5 years, I can tell you it's tough to walk the halls in Washington. It is. It's a place that we just need to get things done. And I'm hoping that he moves. If he gets elected, he moves, and we can still move the ball forward, which is important.
But this is a cloud that is preventing Congress from getting things done, specifically regard to the business of running the country. You also have your fellow Republican Congressman Blake Farenthold, who's embroiled in a sexual misconduct controversy. Do you think he should resign? I guess you have to compare this to Senator Al Franken. He resigned without due process, despite the fact that he called for a Senate ethics investigation. How do you compare or contrast these situations?
Well, I always say that women should feel safe in the office. They should feel safe in so that's very important. Again, I'm also a believer in many things. I don't think we should be sleeping in the offices anymore. I think that's a problem. There's many issues that we have to start looking at because we have to make sure the environment is safe for anyone.
What about the report of $84,000, I believe, that the tax-paying public paid for Mr. Farenthold to cover up these allegations of sexual misconduct? Is that something that he should pay back?
Well, I'm also a believer going forward. I was shocked when I heard in the past that this was going on, so I'm a big believer going forward. Just like the real world, just like real people back home, if you're convicted or you have an issue, you pay for it. And we're working on legislation to promote that in the future as well.
Okay, let's go to taxes right now. Speaking of moving the country forward on the business here, though, there is the Quinnipiac University poll you may be familiar with. It found out this week the majority of voters disapprove of it. That's a full 53%. We're looking at the graphics here on screen. A CBS News poll found 75% of voters say the bill, the GOP tax bill, helps large corporations only, saying it mainly helps the wealthy. You see right there, 76, 69% respectively. Is this bill political kryptonite from your party? Do you have any concerns of what it may do during the midterms?
I don't believe so. Look, we can sit and do nothing, which is always crazy in Washington. Just do nothing, or we can start to change the direction. I do believe we need sustained growth. We need policies that will allow for sustained growth. I do believe our corporate tax rate, our effective rate, is too high. Our statutory rate is the highest. So these are the things we have to bring our corporate rates down. And remember, Alex, the corporations don't pay income taxes. Consumers pay income taxes. Corporations pass them on. So in the end, I think we have to have something that will grow the economy, sustain the economy. And at the same time, remember, this policy gives middle-income taxpayers a tax break, allows them to keep more money at home. These statistics, anything you do in Washington, you'll get polls, and it's because people don't have all the information. And I've learned that as well from Washington. So I'm hoping people get a chance to see this. I think if we get it effective January 1, they'll fill it next year as well.
With regard to that number, though, of the corporate tax rate, they've said it was hard and fast at 20%. The president himself opened up a bit of controversy for those who wanted to stay there, saying it may be 20%, it may be 22% when all is said and done. How much wiggle room is there? What do you support?
Well, look, I had my own tax plans just a couple of years ago. I support getting the corporate tax rate down as low as possible. So I think we need to hold it at 20, and we need to keep it at 20, But I also know we have to cut it. We have to make sure our corporations can compete here and quit going overseas. So that's another thing that's important.
This whole trickle-down theory, though, sir, I've had a number of economists come on and say, even looking at history, it is a concept that has been in effect, and yet in practicality, that taxpayers have not felt the benefit of trickle-down economics, that those savings and taxes by corporations are not passed down to the average consumer. Do you have information that disproves that or expectations of that?
Well, one thing I've learned in Washington, I can bring 100 economists in and get 100 different opinions. One thing I will tell you, being a businessman for 30 years, I had corporations, I had businesses, I employed over 3,000 people, and I know that if every quarter when I had to pay those taxes, I had to slow things down and say, wait a minute, I need enough money to pay my partner, the federal government, who really isn't benefiting the people here. So in the end, I am a believer that if we cut those rates, I know what I would have done. I would have made sure, and I was a small business owner, I would have made sure that I grew the business and passed it on to the employees.
Is the president going to get this on his desk before Christmas?
I believe so. I mean, again, I was a little more skeptical. The Senate's always the problem. We find that out. The House gets something done. The Senate doesn't finish it off. But it looks like the Senate has finished something off, so I do think we get this on.
Republican Congressman Jim Renacci of Ohio, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you guys have a great weekend here in the